Hello guys, welcome back to the Beastie Room. Now, as you might have noticed, we are videoing on my iPhone today because we've had some technical problems with our computer, and because of the amount of videos we do, I have literally clogged it up. And we thought it was going to be an easy fix and put another hard drive on it, but it's not quite that easy, and it's all taken a whole lot longer than we thought. So we have gone back to the old school way, and we've got our mobile phone. Well, that was the first problem. Second problem was the video I had planned for you is not going to happen because I can't access it because of our computer. So we are literally going to ad-lib it a little bit today. We have got some news as well, so it's not too bad. Now, luckily for Camera Lady, she is off work at the moment, so we're going to keep her very, very busy. And we have got our redunculus female in here with the babies. Now, normally, when we catch these up, we will remove the female and so on, so that Camera Lady can get in and just get the youngsters without any trouble. So this is what we're going to do today. We are going to remove this female. We're going to rehouse her in another tub, and then the youngsters can sit in here until tomorrow, when Camera Lady will have time to crack on and get them all potted up nice and singly. Because as you would have remembered from our last video, not only has she got them ones to do, but she's also got about, I don't know, got to be a good couple of 100 vegans to do as well. So she's going to be very, very busy. So any help we can give her, I'm sure is going to be appreciated. So then, we are just going to do a nice simple little enclosure here, same as all the other cereal boxes. So there it is, nice and easy. That's one good thing about this sort of system, using this sort of thing to actually keep our spiders, is it really is so simple. You know, we can do them really, really easy. So what we're going to do now is we are going to try and get this female to leave her babies, which I'm quite sure she's probably more than willing to do. There we go. We're just going to get her to come walking up the side, because we could really do with getting a nice meal on her as well. There we go. Here we go, girl. Come on, up you come. Maintain that contact. And you see her abdomen is actually quite small. See that there? There you go. She's left nice and easy. So that is her there. And what we will do, we've got a drink in there, and we will give her a couple of crickets as well. Leave them in there running around. Now, if we look in here, we can see right down in the bottom there, all the babies. So right down in that corner. See them just there. Go right down. There we go. The babies are here.
Oh, we got them. We've got them.
Yeah, there they are. Bit difficult to see. Hang on a minute, let me get a light. You might as well have a look while we're here.
That's better.
There we go.
Oh, keeps them.
So now we've got some light on them. We can just about make them out.
Can't get it to focus, Dave. What am I doing?
Tap on the screen.
There we
Okay.
go.
So there they all are. See that? Proper old school. She's forgotten how to work the camera. That's it. Go and laugh. Let's shake it out.
Dave,
Stop it now. Oh,
Dave.
this is the unfortunate thing with Camera Lady. She's getting old. She's getting less professional.
I like the screen though, how it looks.
Yeah.
It's much better than my little camera one.
So that is our babies there, all ready to be potted up tomorrow. So we're not actually going to see that happening now, because as you've just seen, it took long enough to get focus. You can imagine how long it will take her to catch all them babies. So we're not going to do that today. We are going to, camera lady's going to do that tomorrow. While we're on the subject of the babies, how about looking in here? Might come back over here. We can, these are the vegans now. Now you would have remembered how these were all quite docile, and now they are lively. Look at them. Look at that little lot. They are everywhere. And there's a good couple of hundred in there. And what you can see in the bottom there is the old egg sac. And there is little bits of mould, which is like these white pockets here. Now they won't really cause too much in the way of problems. There's a couple of little dodgy ones there. These are ready now, because if we leave them in here any longer, they will start predating on one another. So it's very important now that we get them out and get them moved over. But they are much more lively now compared to what they were when you last saw them.
Mm-hmm.
So this is another thing. This is one of the questions that we often get asked about: when should we start feeding our slings when we're breeding? Now, as you can see here, this guy here, he's literally, or this one here, these are full slings now. So these guys will actually feed, and they will start feeding on one another if they're not separated. So when they are in stage 1 and stage 2 nymphs, they don't really feed. They're living off of the remains of their sort of sac, their egg sac. And so they're not really feeding. But once they hit this stage, they are now feeding. And these guys will take on fruit flies, or we can give them pinhead crickets and things like that. Anything small. If you haven't got small stuff, just give them a small cricket, but give it to them dead. Squash it, give it to them dead. They will feed on it. So that is them there.
Because it looks pretty gross.
Yeah. So these all need potting up as well. So as you can see, she's going to be very, very busy. So much for a day off, eh? So yes, so we're going to we can do them. Now, one of the other things we often get asked about is, and I got asked this today actually, is about spiders when they're in pre-molt. What should you do when your spider is in pre-molt? Now, we had a subscriber contact me today, and she said about her brachypelma had been in pre-molt for around 6 weeks, and she thought it should have gone down and done it by now. It should have molted, but with the brachypelmas and the anaphopelmas, any of these sort of like a lot of the New World stuff, they will go into pre-molt, especially the brackies and that. They can go for 6-7 months in pre-molt before they finally molt out. Some of this is down to temperature, and some of it is down to food. So obviously when they go into pre-molt, quite often they will go off their food entirely, and this is where people start to get a little bit worried, because their spider's not feeding. It's not feeding because it doesn't need to. It doesn't need to feed. So you just need to be patient and wait for it. Now, if it was, say, some of the old world spiders or whatever, you don't notice them going into pre-molt in such the same way. And quite often or not, the first you know that they're actually going to go into molt is where they lock themselves away. So they'll build up that dirt curtain, and then they'll block themselves in behind their bark or seal their burrow off or whatever. And that is often the first time you know about it. Now, when we look at spiders coming into molt, we see it all the time. Concerned keepers and hobbyists, they're worried about their spider. Now, if your spider is in good condition, there is absolutely nothing to worry about. And it doesn't matter if it locks itself away for a week or whether it locks itself away for 3 months. It really doesn't matter. It is doing what it does naturally. And also, as well, ask yourself the question. We get many people, they're like, what should I do? I haven't seen it for a few weeks. I haven't done this, I haven't done that. Ask yourself the question. In reality, what can you do? there is nothing you can do. You can't help a spider molt. You know, it will do it in its own good time. And if it goes wrong, there's still very little you can actually do. You know, so the real key is making sure that your spider is in tip-top condition to actually perform a molt in the first place. Now, we often see, and we've mentioned on here many, many times, people, when their spiders are in pre-molt, they start spraying their enclosures up in the humidity. It doesn't make a blind bit of difference. So please, please, please stop spraying your enclosures to add up that higher humidity. It doesn't help them. If you imagine your spider is in fact waterproof, so having a higher humidity is not going to help it molt. Its molting comes from within. So when your spider actually molts and it gets to that point where it's just about to start and it flips itself over, it secretes a liquid between its new skin and its old skin. And that is what helps it crawl out of its skin. It doesn't take anything from the outside. And it gets all of this by being in perfect condition when it enters its molt. So what you want, the only way you can hydrate your spider is to hydrate it with the proper food. Give it good gut-loaded food and your spider will remain hydrated.
What's the difference on how a reptile sheds?
They're very similar. They're very, very similar. It's the same when a snake sheds its skin. It secretes a fluid between its old and its new skin. And that's why when they crawl out of their skin, the skins are wet. And it's because they've got that fluid in them.
But how come is it we get to aid those easier by soaking them? And
that is the only reason you soak a reptile like a snake, is if the skin is broken when it sheds, and then parts of that skin are now stuck. Because once the open air gets to them, and they, like, for argument's sake, if it rips and you get a long sliver down the back of the snake that's stuck on there, but the rest of it's come away, that now is not going to be lubricated in any way. It will dry onto the snake. So that is why
why does it work with the snake but not the spider?
Because spiders work in a different way. When they come out, quite often or not, it's very difficult to pull a spider's leg out of its molt. Whereas a skin, you're just peeling back a skin like you do when you get sunburnt. We all love to do it, don't we? We sit there and we peel off layers of our skin, you know, it feels great, doesn't it? Well, that's just like a snake. That's exactly what they do. With a spider, it's far, far more difficult. Spiders are, in fact, very, very delicate in comparison to a snake. So it's a different thing. But the golden rule is, make sure your animals, your spiders, your snakes, whatever they are, make sure they are well hydrated in terms of food and water. All this business about spraying enclosures, total waste of time. So stop doing it. Right, what else have we got? What else have we been asked about? We've been asked about a little bit about breeding. Now, these are all things that we are going to cover, and we are getting much, much closer to actually getting into our new room. We have, in fact, got an electrician now, and he has been in and he has done the first fix electrics. And we have also boarded the whole room out, plasterboarded it all out now. So we are waiting now for our plasterer to come in. He is booked for next week, and we'll get the room plastered. And then once that's done and dried off, we can get our electrician back to do the second fix, which is basically putting a plug socket, fronts on, light switches, lights, all that sort of stuff. So it's all good stuff. We were hoping to show you that video, but that video is tied up in our old computer.
Hopefully Thursday.
But yeah, hopefully Thursday we will have that video out for you. So yes, we are getting much, much closer to moving out of this room, getting into our new room. And when we do, we're going to cover a lot of these subjects. So when we was talking about the breeding, once we move into the new room, we will pick up the breeding. We've got a lot of projects that we really want to get on with. And we often get asked about, you know, what are good spiders? What's a good way of introducing yourself into the world of breeding spiders? And believe me, it is a fascinating and exciting world. You know, you can get really, really involved, and it doesn't need to cost you any money, and you don't need a vast amount of experience to give it a go, to try. So, of some of the spiders that I would suggest trying are things like the common pink toad, the avic. That's a nice, easy spider. The Cambridgei, the Erminia, any of the Samopaeus, the Reduncus here, there are good spiders to actually try. And the reason I suggest these is because they are generally a little easier on the males, and there's not really much in the way of conditioning needed to be done. You can pretty much put them together and they will get it on. The only thing to really make sure is obviously that you have a mature male to start with, otherwise your female will definitely eat him. And you also you want your female to have been freshly molted out. So she needs to have molted out recently so that you know when she molted. And then go for it, you know, just go for it and try it. The Vagans, you saw our Vagans babies here. They're another one for a New World spider. If you're not too comfortable with Old Worlds, New World spiders, the Vagans is another really, really good one to try. Chaco Goldenly, that's another one you could give a go. There's so many of them that are worth a try. So if you want to get into the breeding, don't worry, just give it a go. It is so worthwhile. It's very rewarding. What else we got? Feeding wise, we've had a lot of questions lately about feeding. How often should we be feeding? Now, these are all things that we've touched on before and we've covered in other videos, but it still seems there's a constant influx of new people coming into the hobby, and these are all brand new questions to them. So, never feel silly about asking your question. Someone asked it once before, so why not you? Always ask the question. When it comes to feeding, as you know from our channel, we tend to let our spiders tell us when they're hungry. So when we're seeing them, if they're a spider that lives in a hole or behind the bark or something like that, we wait until we see them. And then once we see them, we then think about feeding them. If we're not seeing them, we don't worry about it. We leave them be. I mean, we've got some spiders in here that we haven't seen for 3-4 months. Never seen them. But we don't worry about it. There's little telltale signs that tell us whether something's been going on in there, whether they're still there. You can often see a bit of webbing or something like that. Something will change, and that will let you know that there's still one in there.
Poo on the glass.
Poo on the glass is a classic, yeah. And this is one of the reasons, it's a good point, this is one of the reasons why we like to keep our front glasses clean. Because if we keep them clean, when they come out and poo on them, we know straight away that little bugger's still alive. So it's a very, very good indication. Well done, camera lady. Well remembered. But yes, it's a very good way of us knowing without interfering, which is a massive, big thing. We don't really want to be interfering with our spiders all the time. What else was there? There was another one that actually we got called up on and was asked about, and that was quarantining. Should we quarantine our spiders that we get from the shows? And not only shows, we might go to our local pet shop, get a spider. We might see one advertised in the papers on Pre-Loved or something like that, one of these sites, or on Facebook on the groups. People sell their spiders. We buy in lots of spiders. And yes, when it comes to different bits and pieces, we generally like to keep an eye on stuff for at least a few weeks, a couple of weeks, so that we know before it comes. So like, for argument's sake, we've got a show coming up, which is next week, which is the 29th of September, and that is in Peterborough. So we've got the Invert show in Peterborough. We will be there. Now, if for argument's sake, we picked up a collection this week or last week, none of those spiders would be going to Peterborough. Now, although we could quite easily just box them up, take them along and sell them, we tend not to. We tend to hold them back, and we can keep an eye on them until we're happy that they're actually okay. Sometimes they might just, it could be a simple thing. They might just be a little bit underfed, so we just want to fatten them up a little bit, give them a little bit more, make sure they're okay before we move them on. So it's just something that we like to do. We got so when we do that, what we do, we bring them back. Now, depending on, some of them can stay in the homes that they've already come in. So some of them, they might come in one of these, or they might come in one of these pots. If it's adequate in size for that particular spider, we'll leave it in there. It can stay in there. If you go to the show, we use these tubs for the show, for our slings, for our juvies and things. That is, if that's in the show and it's big enough to hold that juvie, it'll be big enough to hold it for a week or two in there, no problem at all. You don't need to worry too much about it. The bigger spiders, the adults, we do them in the square pots. I would suggest don't leave it in the square pot. Move it over to one of these, or a little bit bigger one. You know, it's all about getting the right size. So, you know, if you've got a big spider, it needs a slightly bigger place to live in. It's that simple. It's not. It's nothing you really need to overthink. But yeah, it's good policy just to hold them back for a little while. And if you can, keep them in a different room. That will often help. What else we got? You think of anything?
Cup of tea.
Cup of tea. You're always after a cup of tea. Not very helpful, my love. Not very helpful. She's been rather wicked today, I can tell you. Yeah. Right. Yes, I think that's just about covered it. As I said, this is a bit of an ad hoc sort of video today, and we're just trying to cover a few little bits and pieces because we wasn't really expecting to do this. We did have other plans, but as often happens, best made plans don't always come together.
Don't work with animals and camera ladies.
No, definitely not. Always dangerous. So yes, so the updates on the building, we are getting there. Without telling you too much, we are much closer to finalising, and I predict within the next probably 3 weeks to a month, it will be movable. We'll be able to move in because the plaster would have dried, all of our electrics would be done and in, and then we can start. We can then start the actual job of decking it all out, so we can get all our shelving in. We're still undecided as to what type of shelving we're going to use. I still like the wooden shelving, so we'll probably go with that. I just need to find someone that can supply me in the full lengths that I want, in the thickness that I want. So we do that. We've got to carpet the floor, bits and pieces like that. So it'll all be really cool stuff. Nice stuff to be getting on with. Yeah, so I reckon another month and we should be in and starting. Right then, I hope to see you all in Peterborough. And don't forget, if you do get there, come over, say hello, get your selfie. Remember, if you get any selfies, put them up on Facebook, because we are wanting to do a bit of a collage with the selfies from all of our supporters. That'd be really nice, really cool. And we also, we've been asked to do a questions and answers video again. So, if anyone's got any questions that they'd like answered, jot them down in the comments and we will try and put together a video answering your questions. You get a little shout out as well. Right, then. Right, that's enough from us. Don't forget, be calm, be gentle, and love your spider. And I'll see you soon, guys.